Welcome back to Watches Tonight right here on Watchbox Studios. I'm Tim Mosso and we've got a great slate for this evening. Combination of underrated watches, discussion and analysis of the new Speedy Tuesday Ultraman limited edition, and of course I've got a little bit extra as we're going to revisit a couple of other limited editions that doubled or even tripled up for better and for worse. Okay, tonight I want to emphasize, first, there's no better place than thewatchbox.com to buy, trade, or sell your watches 24 hours a day and globally. We're in Hong Kong, we're in Neuchâtel, we're in South Africa, and we're in Philly right here on thewatchbox.com. That said, I do want to give you something for free. For your time, the Watchbox is going to give you a Breitling Colt Sky Racer, 45mm in carbon composite bright light. It is a quartz chronometer, 100 meters water resistant, and quite possibly the ultimate summer fun watch for 2018. A $2,000 retail value. You can find the link in the description to win this Breitling. Okay, jumping right in, batting practice. Warming up your monitor with your pitches and my cuts, let's start with our time to run. Run far, run fast from these online listings. The worst of eBay and Chrono, dope thanks to David D for this Fisher-Price grade Rolex Oysterdate. This one is a laugher. Sometimes they make these hard. This wasn't one of those times. That thing looks as though it were painted with a finger. All right, I don't even think a toddler would fall for that one. Riley D catches this Zenith Pilot floating on the bay with its pants down. At first glance, something doesn't look quite right about those counters and the proportions. But it's not just a bad impression. It's a bad impersonation of a Zenith El Primero. Not only is that a bad impersonation of an El Primero, that's a bad impersonation of a Valshoe 7750. That thing popped out of an enterprising coastal Chinese machine shop. It's not even the movement that it is based on. Okay, jumping from that to yours truly, I picked up this ad floating around on Chrono24 for a $38,000 watch. What's the problem? A bit of schizophrenia. They're not really sure how to market this one, so they decided to cast a wide net for SEO's sake. It does undermine confidence, as it's sloppy at best and potentially terrifying as a knowledge deficit, if that's in earnest. All right, guys, send your time to run Hall of Shame candidates to Monday mailbag at thewatchbox.com. I can see my friends from around the world jumping in. Eddie Landsberg first, Amadigi, Mozart Ravai, Don Gizzle, Shannon from Germany, Robert Dixon from Scotland, Tristan P, Horology Homies, PY7. I can even see I've got Yahia B from Egypt. Welcome, guys, from around the world. And Alexei from Finland saying Trump and Putin have just left our airspace. No comment. Okay, guys, jumping into the next topic. I had a question from Han J who asked, Tim, what are some of the most underrated modern era watches? Okay, that's a great question because this could be the show's central feature by itself. I'm not going to go long. I'm going to go short, but I'm going to give you some heavy hitters in the process. First, Rolex Explorer 2. Polar dial. Super underrated. Big, bold at 42mm, sleek without the rotating bezel, so it's got a level of versatility you might not expect in a 42 super case. It's a rare modern steel Rolex sports watch that sells for less pre-owned than it does new, so there's also a value play to be had buying one of these recently purchased but not quite new. The black dial is more conventional. Obviously, that's been called the modern Steve McQueen. It's not, but we'll entertain. This is the one to own because this one is just sensational. It's not a silver dial, it is gloss, pearly white, and gorgeous. That's an underrated watch, and one you can probably pick up pre-owned with still most of 5 years warranty for $6,000. Okay, this is a stunning Royal Oak right here. Now, at first glance, that's the icon. No doubt about it. You know what you're looking at with one eye closed. It's also a mid-size 15450 ST, and there lies the rub. That fact is almost impossible to judge once it's on your wrist, with an iconic profile and a fit that's almost identical to the much-loved 39mm 15300 discontinued in 2012. I have to say the current 15450 ST is the AP that you need to consider but probably haven't. It's not a ladies' watch. This is a men's watch, and a glorious one. I'll also say this is a watch that sells for $16,500 new and about $1,000 less than that pre-owned, which is important because the 41mm 15400 not only wears too big for most wrists, but that sells for $17,800 and sells for about $1,000 more than that pre-owned. Get the 15450 at a pre-owned discount and never look back. That is the current Royal Oak that I would buy. Calibre de Cartier Diver in stainless steel. Get it with the blue bezel, and you get the version that has the ceramic bezel. The black is ADLC. This is ceramic. This one came out as the sequel to Cartier's first Calibre de Cartier Diver, which was all black and stainless. I think the blue one is the one to own. It's got color, it's got character, it's got presence. It's also a millimeter thinner than a Submariner, wearable with anything, and an absolute buy at about $6,000 to $6,500 pre-owned. I have to say, this is probably the best all-around watch for home, office, and casual use that Cartier makes right now. It's an ISO 6425 compliant diver, so even the hardware is impressive, and you get epic lume with this dial at night. It is an absolute sensation. I can even tell from the picture that I'm looking at a Cartier. That is Cartier as a dive watch, and I approve. Okay, Vacheron Constantin. This is the real buy in Geneva Hallmark. Key to Lille in stainless steel. This one came out about 2 years ago, and I feel like it deserves more love. You have those two versions there in silver and black. There's also a blue dial version, but this is a new watch that sells for $16,400, only about $5,000 more than the highly controversial 56 self-winding without the Geneva Hallmark. But here's the thing. You can get this watch pre-owned for $1,000 less than a new 56 self-winding without the Geneva seal. For about $10,500 US, you can get this watch with Geneva Hallmark case and Caliber 5100 in-house automatic 60-hour, and all of that for just over $10,000. We're talking $2,000 less than a new Rolex Daytona bought at list. You could have the Geneva Hallmark. All I'm saying is at 41mm in steel, that's an incredible buy, and that's your all-arounder. That is your daily driver right there. Okay, Edgar P. asks, Tim, what do you think of the new Speedy Tuesday edition? By the way, before I do acknowledge that question and do my best to answer, I want to greet some of our late arrivers. Ram Gopal, hello Tim, glad I could catch you live from India. Alex Wintermute, Polar Explorer would be my next Rolex if I were to buy one. And Simon Holt, Knackers, late again. That's okay, Simon. All of you stragglers, we love you all the same. Horology Homies likes the VC at 41 and 10 grand. Okay, Edgar P. Tim, what do you think of the new Speedy Tuesday limited edition? Does the new one undermine the desirability of the original? And that's a great question. First, let's rewind. In early 2017, Omega jointly commemorated the late 70s Project Alaska 3 prototype and the 5th anniversary of online magazine Fratello Watch's weekly Speedy Tuesday spotlight of a different Speedmaster each week. Now, this was the first Speedy Tuesday, a series of 2012 pieces. You could see a little bit of the Project Alaska in the radial registers, but for the most part, it was an original effort. 2012 pieces sold out almost immediately. At the time, it was cool to see a web media outlet acknowledged by a major industry OEM. I have to admit, as a guy who does internet television, that was a landmark for the entire industry of guys who talk about and write about watches on the internet. And it also was just a memorable look with memorable lume. Again, they did not phone this in. This was a thoughtfully researched and thoroughly executed, fully realized special series, and I absolutely loved the concept as well as the finished product. Now, last week, Omega announced a second Speedy Tuesday branded limited edition, the Speedmaster Ultraman. And there it is right there. It's actually a very good looking watch. Like the original, this is an edition of 2012 pieces and jointly honors Fratello watches once more with another specific obscure vintage Omega, the orange seconds hand 14512 from the late 60s, known as the Ultraman. That particular watch from the late 60s period gained its nickname after being worn by a character in the Japanese costume kaiju TV show, The Return of Ultraman, which it turns out is exactly as awful as you imagined. No comment. Okay, so that brings us to the present discussion of whether Omega did the right thing or stabbed its first Speedy Tuesday buyers in the back. That's the original. Let's talk about the new one. I hate to see this, and I hate to say this, but the answer is yes on both counts. First, the new edition is gorgeous. I mean, it is a great looking watch. It's more attractive than the first one. I don't think that's just the whim and taste speaking. I think there's something objectively just cooler about this watch. They took it farther than the original. It surpasses the first in imagination, in color, in charm, and in Easter eggs like the wacky lume that can only be activated with a black light, which, thoughtfully, they've included. That little orange blob on the dial is actually Ultraman's head. Again, I'm going to take their word for this, having not watched that show the better part of 50 years ago, but that is a very thoughtfully executed watch day or night. Very cool. The boxed set for this one is epic. It looks like, apparently, the Monster Attack Team table as featured in the Ultraman or Return of Ultraman TV series. You get an accessory strap, you get tools, you get the blacklight activator, and you get a very bespoke box. So there's a lot going on here that I love. I think this is a better execution and a cooler watch. That said, Omega absolutely stabbed last year's online-only buyers in the back. There's no question. They doubled the number of watches out there. As far as collectors are concerned, Speedy Tuesday is now like every other Omega limited edition. If you didn't get on board this one, rest assured there will be another bus at this time next year. You can get a ticket on that one. It will always recur. It will always iterate. It is like Groundhog Day for your wrist. So, I have to say that this is a phenomenal value for $7,100, and I love the watch. But if I had gotten on board with the original series, I'd be very disappointed right now. If I were Fratello watches, I'd be doing a victory dance. But if I were an original buyer, I would not like this. I would also say all cards on the table. We know two immutable facts of the watch world by now. First, watches are not investments. We know it. You know if you've got the money to play in that realm. You know, if you're bidding on the watch on the cover of the auction catalog, yeah, a watch might be an investment. But for the rest of us, they're at best store of value, and realistically, they're fun. Like a European vacation or a purebred dog, you don't expect to get your money back. It's the experience. And second, there's always another Speedmaster LE. Always. Okay, viewer wrist shots. Diego I gets us started with his vintage Lecoultre Memovox wrist alarm. Looking sharp. Nice condition, too, I have to say. Ray B enjoys his Oris Divers 65 along the waterfront by his office. You can see lakeside with his Oris Divers 65 looking resplendent on a period-style strap. And Victor T sporting his Louis Vuitton Escale World Time. Nicely composed, nice light in particular. Matt F. thinks beyond the box, way beyond the box. In Val de Travers with his Parmigiani Fleurier Temps de Couture annual calendar, absolutely beautiful. Nicely executed by Parmigiani, nicely photographed by our friend Matt. Send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com. Okay, primary feature tonight. Inspired by the Speedy Tuesday Part 2, you can't go home again, and I'm pretty sure Thomas Wolfe meant it in a different sense than I'm going to use it tonight, but I'm speaking of the tendency shown by many brands to stretch credulity to the breaking point with second and even third rounds of successful limited editions. Omega's Speedy Tuesday Double Take, or Double Cross, depending on your perspective, is an ideal example, and we have to remember that for every Star Wars A New Hope, there is a Return of the Jedi with Ewoks to spoil the series for everyone. Or a Matrix 3. Too many Smiths. Too many minutes. Here are a few of my takes on historical double-ups that either sank or swam. Patek Philippe is regarded by many as the last word in luxury watches, so we're going to give the House of Stern its due as the lead-off slot for the evening. Consider Exhibit A, a Platinum Nautilus, the original 5711 1P-010. This was a rare 2011 to 2015 piece, extraordinary in that it was made in perhaps a few dozen copies per year during that period. Premier retailers like Tiffany, yes, you could get it Tiffany signed, had priority. All clients went through an application process, a vetting process, an approval process, and all waited in line for delivery because this was a special order item only. You would not find this in stock at the Patek Philippe showroom on Rue de Rhône. Now, the iridescent blue dial was scintillating. All clients had to wait, and as a result, the rarity created a sensation when an example of this watch surfaced. The stealth factor in all platinum, a white metal with a blue dial, was unmatched. This was exquisite, and as rare as it deserved to be. That said, then came 2016 and the 40th anniversary Nautilus. Suddenly, the 2016 Nautilus 5711 1P-001 broke cover in 700 copies in 1 year. Yes, 700. Now, all with baguette-strewn diamond dial and giant text stamped onto the dial. Giant text. You can't miss it. Just in case anyone doubts what's on your wrist, 1976 to 2016! It was not discreet, and it was not very rare. So, never mind the Speedy Tuesday. If I owned one of perhaps 60 to 100 of the original 5711 1Ps, you wouldn't have to ask me how I felt about this, especially if I were a patient and loyal Patek client who had asked, waited, and hoped to receive permission just to give them my money. Okay, that's how I feel. Objectively, they're both beautiful watches, but the first was a sensation. The second was a bit of Patek cashing in. Meanwhile, at Point Hans Wilsdorf on the other side of Geneva, Rolex proved that you can revisit a special edition with success and collector plaudits if you raise your game the second time around. So, the 2003 anniversary Rolex Submariner was a masterclass in subtlety. A green bezel and larger indices, both firsts for the modern Submariner. In both cases, helped to give rise to an instant classic and an enduring nickname. That was Kermit. Now, Rolex discontinued the original 16610 LV in 2009, late 2009, to make room for a second act that made the original LV look as puny as Bruce Banner. Of course, that was the 2010 Rolex Hulk, the 11610 LV, now fully green with green gold dial and Serichrome bezel. I have to say that the Hulk was a watershed moment for the stainless steel sub, and now in its 9th model year, it has never been more sought than it is at this instant. It has never been more desirable or more expensive pre-owned, or had a longer wait list new than it is right now, and that's a testament to Rolex doing right by its customers and offering a more spectacular watch the second time around without undermining the integrity of the original. Green dial, green bezel, black dial, there's no mistaking the two. Okay, with all due respect to Omega, Hublot, and Audemars Piguet, no luxury house is more inclined to offer nearly identical follow-ups to its own special editions than Officine Panerai, which I believe is Italian for, look, we made another one. Okay, it's no exaggeration to call the 2011 PAM 382 the first Bronzo, a design that rocked the industry. That is a distinction that it will hold eternally. It is a flag that flies forever. I revere this watch, even as I can't quite wear it. A phenomenal product of imagination, the watch achieved the Panaristi enthusiast holy grail of preserving all cardinal elements of the simplicity, legibility, and shape of the Luminor, while delivering revolutionary upgrade to the overall aesthetic. This watch unified the two. That's the grail of Panerai Special Edition design, to improve without corrupting. All was changed and sacred simultaneously. Now, though not the first bronze watch, that honor goes to Gerald Genta in the modern era. The PAM 382 is patient zero in the modern zombie horde of bronze watches, and it remains the best. So, that didn't stop Panerai, unfortunately, from making 1,000 more PAM 507s in 2013, now with a power reserve, or 1,000 more of the third Bronzo, the PAM 671, in 2017. And I have to say, the last, with its pandering blue dial and bronze case, is almost a pastiche of the modern moment's voguish watch tropes. You know it's true. It's an attractive watch, but you know that's true. Okay, we don't talk about Tag Heuer I love the Bronzos, but Panerai, it's time to close the book. We don't talk about Tag Heuer that much on this show, and I have to admit that. That's my fault. That said, there was plenty of reason to be excited in 2009 as the third modern iteration of the famed blue Steve McQueen Monaco broke cover. The Monaco re-edition in 2009 proved to be the all-time high watermark for the modern Steve McQueen Monaco series, and the 2009 Monaco was a 1,000-piece special edition, reference CAW211A, that featured a real ETA caliber with a DD chronograph module, a high-quality all-applique dial that was true to the original in both detail and base color, as well as a faithful shape and size as it combined the original Monaco's 38mm case with the only confluence of that case size and a sapphire crystal in the Steve McQueen series. The dial was beautifully executed. The price was about 10 grand, and this limited series is still priced at 10 to 12 grand today, pre-owned. People knew that they had something special on their hands, and so did Tag Heuer, as it reissued this watch again in 2010 and again in 2015. And it's that 2015 Monaco CAW211P that I feel really marked the moment that Arthur Fonzarelli jumped the shark for the Steve McQueen reissues. Not a bad watch, not at all, but I feel like it's time to put the McQueen to bed for a while. 4 re-editions since 2003 is creating Monaco fatigue, and with the 2009 being as good as it was, this one with its Solida caliber, its partially printed dial, its needless use of a display caseback that really brings nothing to the composition. Really, when you've got a movement like this, a display caseback that shows you nothing but the fact that the movement's not pretty, probably shouldn't be there. The 2009 watch had a solid caseback with McQueen's signature. That was the way to go. The moral of this story is to top your past performance. Tag actually got the 2009 watch right on its second attempt, as the 2003 was the first modern Monaco. So it's not always a matter of not reissuing. Sometimes it's a matter of just quitting when you're ahead, wherever that happens in the sequence. And before we bid farewell to this evening's prime feature, I have to share an exclusive, never-before-seen image of the Speedy Tuesday 3 limited edition. If you like the Ultraman, you're gonna love the Speedy Tuesday 3. And you heard it here first. You hear that outside? That's the style police calling. Okay, be careful what you wish for, folks. Western hipster otaku wannabes, you'll be the end of us all. Okay, viewer wrist shots. Dr. Bobby K beats Omega with his limited edition triple up. Absolutely gorgeous. Silver Snoopy 1, Spectre, and Silver Snoopy 2, man, that is a grand slam right there. Jordan W. of New York shares his 1999 Rolex Explorer 14270. That's a gorgeous one, by the way, with 1999 build serial. A beautiful piece, and he wears it well. Chris B. sports the late, great Sea Dweller 4000 in front of Downtown Abbey. Highclere Castle, if you can't quite see the details. And Aaron M. shares the majesty of Mendenhall Glacier near Juneau, Alaska, while on vacation, a trip that also included whale watching in Skagway. Send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com. So I have some interesting comments right here. Zach Blass saying, JCB can't always get it right. Eric Nielsen tags tagline, we're shameless, so what? Give him more credit than that, but point taken. I have to say, Tag does some things incredibly well. For example, the Monza re-edition hit me right here. And I have to say the Ottavio was well done too. Aesthetically and mechanically, I liked what they did there. Smartwatches, not so much. The 4th edition Steve McQueen, I could live without. I would also say, right here, Kyle K, laugh out loud, Speedy Power Rangers. Yeah, you laugh now. Wait until the children of the 90s are all grown up. The 2030s will absolutely see a Speedmaster Power Ranger limited series, and you'll find it first on Fratello watches. I guarantee it. I can see right here, Simon Holt, Ninja Turtles Speedy after that. If I recall my 90s animation, it was Ninja Turtles, and then it was wacky kaiju costume play with the Power Rangers. I actually expect to see a Ninja Turtles watch in the 2020s. And I can see Captain Zed saying, props, he likes the new Octavia. Zach Blass appreciating the Bamford Carbon Monaco, to be fair. And that's right. I think the Bamford deal works better for Tag Heuer than it does for Zenith. I feel a few strong Zenith designs are really needed to get that brand back on track, whereas Tag already has some iconic designs. It can afford to freestyle a bit with the Bamford folks in England. I would also answer John H's question. Tim, what would you say, Amvox 2 or Top Gun Chrono? I would say if you want the most unique watch that frankly has no equivalent at any other brand, you want the Amvox 2, because stay with me here, where else can you find a chronograph that has no pushers? You're probably talking the Amvox 2 and the Habring COS, and that's it. But unlike the Habring, the Amvox is a complete manufacturer movement with an articulated case that's just a pleasure to use. With the Habring, you're getting a highly elaborated 7750 base. The Amvox 2 gives you a lot of choices as well, because there were many iterations built into the first run, and if you want to wear the brass ring, I would say go with an Amvox 2 DBS in platinum, they only made 100, or go with the Amvox 7, which was really the Amvox 2 Plus, and get it with the power reserve scale and the quick release lugs. That's an awesome watch. I have yet to do a review on this channel or any other in 4 years of watch reviews. So I would say Amvox 2 and don't look back. Mark S. Tim, you mean children of the 90s all grown up, as in Vince Vaughn in Swingers? You know what? I'm afraid to see what the children of the 90s ultimately idolize. That was the era of the new Beatles, Ace of Base, Backstreet Boys and boy bands in general, and the Spice Girls overplayed on mainstream radio. I'm genuinely afraid of what the children of the 90s have on the mind. And finally, also want to give a shout out to some of our friends. Roll back a little bit and Horology Homies saying he's allergic to Tag. I can see right here, Pedro Sens is saying the Hulk's maxi case and thick lugs need to be reevaluated to meet the new Pepsi steel case. Okay, so what he's saying is the next generation Submariner needs to be reevaluated to be a little bit less of a maxi case. Less sheer side, less squared off lugs, a watch that's a 40 and wears like a 40 rather than a watch that's a 40 and wears like a 42. I actually feel that, and I think that's legit criticism. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Everyone who joined us tonight, you guys are the best. You're the reason I have the best job in the world. I want to thank my crew that threw this show together, and as ever, thank you all for logging on. I'm Tim. This is Watches Tonight. Time out. Tim out. You be well.